working with certain character dynamics in serialized fiction. Let's get into it. So for today's discussion, we're going to be talking about Creeps Anonymous. So each time I set up a serialized fiction project, especially with my main characters, I try to get an understanding of how the character feels about the world and how they feel about themselves in the moment that we join them when the story starts. And these can be philosophies, biases, those are really good to work off of. And basically, my challenge as a writer, as I'm going through this serialized story, is putting down the sort of pawn stones that my character will skip across as they maybe have their mind changed or they change and grow as a character. Straight from the get-go in chapter 1 of Creeps, we get this understanding that Olivia doesn't really have a lot of good relationships with the men in her life. Olivia grows up being kind of a cool girl and is used to that and is used to being relegated to that. In chapter 10, we actually get the introduction of Olivia's father after he calls her about Thanksgiving plans and he tries to work things out with their relationship. Tony calls out of the blue, Olivia doesn't have a really great response to it, and Tony doesn't have a great response to her response. The two devolve into having an argument about Thanksgiving plans and the divorce in general. He doesn't like that the respect that he used to have with his daughter is now gone since he's been gone. And on top of the fact, she's now starting to address him the way that he's used to addressing and treating people. However, you are invited to get a deeper look into Tony's character when she starts to ask him why he chose Tina over the family. This moment of tenderness where he describes Tina as his muse and himself as an artist kind of gives you another opportunity to take a deeper look into Tony's character, especially when we've been introduced to his character as a deeply selfish and temperamental person. And then chapter 12, where we physically see Tony for the first time because he's back in town dealing with the divorce. After a lot of antagonistic back and forth on the phone and just what you hear about him, both Olivia and the reader are kind of surprised to see him kind of older looking, smaller looking, not as threatening as remembered or described. He asks her if she's dating anyone, and she angrily replies that, no, I just came out of a hospital, I'm not dating anybody. And he kind of gives her like a once-over, the fatherly once-over, and he's like, you look all right to me, kid. And again, you're given this sort of character whiplash because you don't really know what to think. And that's by design. The great part about creating serialized stories with characters that live within these stories is that it's kind of like writing a TV show. You're meant to watch these characters grow, and even if you're not rooting for some of them, that's okay, they're still going to grow regardless. And they might even surprise you. I think people have the capacity to change, and so should characters, and I think putting that on display and being able to experiment with those dynamics within serialized fiction is one of my favorite things. But what do you think? What's your favorite dynamic in Creep so far?